What is the ultimate secret of a samurai who won over 60 duels? This is the wisdom of Japan's greatest swordsman. Miyamoto Musashi's The Book of Five Rings is a treatise on strategy, written in his later years by the master swordsman Miyamoto Musashi, and it serves as a guidepost for those who seek to master their chosen path. It consists of 5 scrolls: Earth, Water, Fire, Wind, and Void. It expounds not only on the principles of swordsmanship, but also on universal truths applicable to all aspects of life. However, it is not merely a cold array of written words. It is, for me, Shinmen Musashi, the very essence of the answers I finally grasped at the end of a lifelong journey, the sights I witnessed amidst blood and mud, and the memories of pain etched into my very bones. I am a man who dedicated his life to the sword. Or perhaps I was simply an awkward man who knew no other way to live. Since childhood, a wooden sword was always in my hand. My father, Munisai, was a master of the jita technique, but the affection poured into me was strangely distorted. It was less instruction and more a training akin to hatred. To survive, to surpass my father, I merely swung my sword with all my might. I first killed a man at the tender age of 13. Was his name Arima Kihei? His arrogant gaze, the smell of rusted blood, the dull thud of the wooden sword crushing a skull. That scene is still seared into my eyelids, never to leave me. That was the beginning of my path. In my youth, I sought only strength. I believed, without a doubt, that gaining fame and being called unrivaled under heaven was the only way to prove my existence. In the Battle of Sekigahara, I crawled through the mud as a foot soldier for the Western Army. The ceaseless rain washed away the blood, and the earth was dyed crimson. The deafening war cries, the dying screams, the sound of flesh tearing. There was no justice, no grand cause, only the desperate craving of a beast to live. I dodged enemy spears, climbed over the corpses of my comrades, and swung my katana frantically. Without knowing what lay beyond survival, I merely cut and cut and cut to live. What I learned in that hell was not the logic of strategy. It was the sheer tenacity of life itself, how to survive the brink of death. My challenge to the Yoshioka clan, a prestigious school of swordsmanship in Kyoto, was an extension of that pursuit. A duel with their head, Seijuro, with real swords, the tranquil air in the dojo, only our breaths echoing. A momentary lapse in concentration would mean death. It was that extreme tension that spurred me on. I felled Seijuro with a single strike, and then defeated Denshichiro as well. However, the Yoshioka clan then brought forth their young master, and attempted to overwhelm me with numbers. The fight against dozens of men at Ichijoji Sugarimatsu was no longer a duel, but a massacre. I dodged a shower of arrows, parried blades closing in from all directions, and my vision turned red with splattered blood. I was an Asura. To win, to survive. For that alone, I deviated from the human path. I killed many, and incurred much hatred. Each one of those acts is etched as a deep wound in my heart. My duel with Sasaki Kojiro on Ganryujima was a major turning point in my path of the sword. The world hailed Kojiro and me as the 2 greatest swordsmen. Kojiro's long katana, Monohoshizao drying pole, boasted a truly lethal reach. If I were to challenge him in the ordinary way, there would be no chance of victory. That is precisely why I abandoned the ordinary. I deliberately arrived late for the appointed time and carved a wooden sword from a boat's oar. Everything was a tactic to unsettle Kojiro's mind and rob him of his composure. I stood with the morning sun at my back, in silhouette. Kojiro's sword movements, frustrated and impatient, were slightly off kilter. I did not miss that momentary opening. To Kojiro, who had discarded his sheath, I declared, "Kojiro, you are defeated." The outcome of the match had been decided before we even fought. In this single encounter, I realized that true strategy is not merely about honing one's swordsmanship skills. It is about discerning the opportune moment. the advantageous terrain, the unity of people, and comprehending all of these to control the larger situation. It was no longer just swordsmanship, but the very principle of how to live. I continued to win over 60 duels. However, what awaited me at that peak was not glory. Only deep solitude and emptiness were there. The more I sought strength, the more people distanced themselves from me. No one sought to understand me. They merely feared me as Musashi the killer. The faces of those I had cut down visited me in my dreams night after night. They, too, must have had families to protect and humble dreams. The justice I believed in was nothing but unreasonable violence to them. There is no absolute justice in this world. Good and evil easily switch places depending on one's perspective. When I realized this, I laid down my sword. I began to seek a path not of killing with the sword, but of giving life through it. I practiced calligraphy and painting, devoted myself to Buddhism, and spent days contemplating my inner self. And then, secluding myself in Reigando Cave in Higo Kumamoto, I resolved to leave behind the principles of strategy I had gained throughout my life for posterity, that is, the Book of Five Rings. The answer I arrived at was surprisingly simple. The true enemy to be cut down is not the opponent before one's eyes. It is the fear, arrogance, carelessness, and doubt within oneself. These are the greatest enemies that will destroy one's own body. What is recorded in the Book of Five Rings is the path to sever those doubts. First, in the Earth Scroll, one grasps the overall picture of the path of strategy and solidifies the foundations. Next, in the Water Scroll, one learns to make one's mind as flexible as water, capable of adapting to any situation. Then, in the Fire Scroll, one discerns the intensity of battle, the principles of large and small, and dominates the contest. In the Wind Scroll, one learns about other schools and corrects one's own biases. Finally, in the Void Scroll, one is freed from all attachments, reaching a clear state unhindered by anything. This is the ultimate secret of strategy that I sought. The true essence of Nita Nichiryu. I have a message I want to convey to you who are watching this video. The modern age you live in is not like the era I lived in, where people exchanged lives with swords in hand. However, life itself remains a great battlefield. Everyone, in their respective positions, must be facing their own path and challenging the daily struggles. The teachings of the Book of Five Rings that I left behind will surely serve as a useful guide in your battles as well. First, the teaching of the Earth Scroll. In doing anything, one must not neglect the basics. Deeply understand the ground you stand on and solidify your footing. Daily training and the steady accumulation of diligent effort are the unshakable foundations for achieving great things. Do not rush to take shortcuts. Second, the teaching of the Water Scroll. Let your mind always be like water. Do not cling to one idea or one method. Situations change moment by moment. Do not go against the flow. Flexibly change shape and overcome all obstacles. Fixed ideas are the greatest barrier to your growth. Third, the teaching of the Fire Scroll. Know the subtleties of battle. Sometimes attack fiercely. Sometimes calmly await the opportunity. Do not lose sight of the bigger picture. Read your opponent's mind. And always think about striking first. Fighting driven by emotion will inevitably lead to ruin. Fourth, the teaching of the Wind Scroll. Do not forget to learn from others. In different values and different ways of thinking lie the seeds of growth. By knowing others, you can truly see yourself correctly. Listen humbly and broaden your capacity. Fifth, and the teaching of the Void Scroll. Learn to let go. Attachment to success. Being trapped by past failures, all these things restrict your freedom. When you let go of everything and become empty, you will for the first time see the essence of things and attain a truly free state. My journey will come to an end in this Raygundo cave. However, these 5 teachings will transcend time and continue to live in your heart. The path of the sword, the path of business, the path of scholarship. Ultimately, they are all the same. Refine yourself, sever doubts, and with a clear mind, simply move forward relentlessly. Your journey has just begun. I want you to walk your own path, the one you believe in, straightforwardly, not a path stained with blood and regret like mine. The sky visible from this cave is blue and clear today. Thank you for watching the video. Your support encourages us to create more videos. Please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and turn on notifications by hitting the bell icon so you can enjoy our next video. Thank you for watching.